Like to welcome you guys to Elite Financial Strategies, talking tonight about how we can. Hi, Holly. Thanks for joining me. I'd like to talk to you guys tonight about really some of the fundamental principles that I've been learning for 4 years on how to really take money to the next level and really do some fun things with it to be able to bring more harmony, more freedom, more purpose to your life. I really think wealth is the central place where we start on all those things. Was listening to a Grant Cardone podcast the other day with Lewis Howes, and he was talking about how when you're tapped in spiritually and your connection to God or source is very, very high, then the material world becomes a natural byproduct that flows from that spiritual connection, and abundance just naturally flows. So we're going to talk tonight about some of the principles around that and how you can go to another level financially in your life and some of the key things with that. So I'm going to do a quick screen share here, bring up my PowerPoint. We're going to jump right in here. Oops, brought up the wrong one here. All right. So again, tonight we're going to just talk about how to win the game of money around harmony, freedom, purpose. For me, harmony is a big word in my life. I like to feel in harmony with things where you're connected to the flow, to the power of creation for yourself, for your purpose, for what you're here to do. And, we live in a material world. I know some people probably wonder, why do I talk so much about money? You must be so materialistic, Jeff. Well, I do like material things. Yes, I do. And I do live in a material world. And a lot of the things that it takes to live in a material world requires money, unfortunately. So to give more requires money. To be able to help out more requires money. To expand your purpose in the world requires money. To be able to do things and increase the abundance that your family experiences takes money a lot of times. So I see so many things revolving around money for harmony, to be in the flow, for freedom. We live in a free country in America, and a lot of us are slaves to money, quite honestly. So what can we do to break free from that? And then I'm going to talk a little bit about purpose, because our purpose, what God built us for, why we're here, needs to be equal with the money equation in our life, needs to be congruent with that so that they flow together, so that money and wealth comes from purpose, not from ego, not from materialism, not from the world and just having a bunch of stuff. It's not about that. We'll get into that tonight. So I'm going to try to keep this to around 30 minutes. I always say that every week, but doesn't always happen. Sometimes I go a little long. So we'll do my best to keep it to that. So just a couple of things about what you're going to learn tonight. This is my best friend, Jeff Finley. A few of you might know him. Why am I having a testimonial of him? Well, he was one of the first people I shared some of these principles with when I learned them 4 years ago, and it's having a positive impact on his life. In fact, he texted me earlier today saying he has potentially about 12 more hours left at his day job, and he will be able to step away from that and become job free in a sense and have a lot more freedom in his life. So these principles I've shared with him, and he's applied them and been able to see the rewards of those. And I got a text yesterday from a client that we are at the end of the process of putting a program in place for her that we're going to talk about tonight. And I got this text as a screenshot off my phone yesterday, and took out some of the words that weren't necessary for the testimonial, but I have, she said, I really appreciate everything you've done and shared. It has given me hope that I have not had before. And she's told us that before, that the things that she's been able to put into place because of what we've shared with her, from what we've learned and implemented in her own life, has really given her something that she's been looking for. And she's in her 50s, around financial well-being, confidence, knowing she's going to be okay. She heads into retirement. It's a big deal. So that's a little bit of what you're going to learn tonight. So a little bit about me. Some of you might not know me or know my story. I'm going to go into this real briefly. So back in high school, I had really bad acne. It was called severe cystic acne. You can tell by this picture here. You see like a lot of cysts on my face. It was kind of a rough deal. And so I'd gone through several years of the conventional, pharmaceutical regimens, and kind of had a little bit of success, but ultimately it all came back right after high school. And I found this book here, Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. I think the summer after I graduated high school in 2004, read that book, implemented some of the things that I learned in that book from Kevin Trudeau, who is one of my personal heroes. And within literally like 2 or 3 weeks, all the acne was gone. I mean, it was unbelievable because I did some cleanses. I changed my diet. I understood what the dermatologist did not understand, that what I put into my body influenced how my body performs. And that led me to several years later. Here I'm holding up a CD series called Your Wish Is Your Command. If you guys have never listened to that, you need to message me so you can get one. It's changed my life, as did this Natural Cures book. And both of those, though, opened up my mind to the idea of there's more out there than we've been told. There's possibilities, there's solutions, there's answers beyond what the mainstream will tell you, beyond what the masses know. There's a whole nother realm, whole other galaxy beyond that. And this experience, thankfully I had it because it opened the door to all those possibilities. And then a little further down the track, through Global Information Network, which is the organization behind Your Wish Is Your Command, I was invited to join that in 2009. And it was a personal development, growth, natural health organization. It was some of the most amazing time in my life being a part of that organization. I'm about ready to rejoin here actually very soon. I met some people this last weekend. They were like, hey, you need to get back in. It's really good. So I'm going to probably be joining up here pretty quick with that. Total side note, but because of Global Information Network, I met Dr. Tom and Ted Morter and his dad, Dr. Morter, and studied many natural health techniques, advanced chiropractic techniques for several years. That business didn't go very well for me. I didn't put in what I needed to on that. Learned a lot of things there. And then 6 months after my wife and I were married, we were involved in a car accident down in Florida. My wife was struck directly on foot. I think I was flung into the vehicle. I have zero memory of the whole thing. And that really turned us upside down financially and led me kind of looking for solutions in the financial realm. I'd already learned them in the alternative health realm, in the personal development realm, understood the power of my mind, but didn't really have any real good solutions financially because we had medical debt. We lived on credit cards for a year while my wife recovered, and it really got us upside down big time financially. And we were having a young family. I was an entrepreneur, just started back up in my lawn and landscaping business, which was what I've done primarily my entire life. And, was really facing how am I going to provide? How am I going to pay off all those debt? My wife had student loans. How am I going to put money away for retirement? And they all seemed like I had to come up with all this extra money to be able to achieve all those separate categories of financial well-being that you needed to do in your life. And it really pushed me to the point of like, there's got to be a better way. And then 4 years ago, we were in Grand Rapids sitting down with our accountant. She's like, hey, you need to check out this seminar. And that seminar, what I learned in that seminar and well beyond that is what we're going to be sharing here in the next little bit tonight. Hi, Julie. Thanks for joining us. So going to just jump into a few things here of what I saw in the last 10 or 12 years as I've been in natural health. I've been in personal development in a very significant way. The law of attraction, a lot of those different types of things. Hey, Roman, glad you're on. Just met Roman this weekend. Fantastic guy. So there's just these things that I've seen that are missing in the marketplace and things. So I've been around a lot of personal development, a lot of personal growth, law of attraction, spiritual teachings. A lot of people that, hey, you need to meditate, you need to clear your subconscious blocks, you need to have affirmations, and, absolutely all those things are absolutely correct. But what I saw missing in those teachings was when they talked about money and you got all your money blocks cleared up and you had a business and all these things, the system of money that they encouraged you to put your money into to grow it and to do different things is the system for pretty much everybody that is poor and middle class. It's still stocks, it's still bonds, it's mutual funds, it's 401ks, IRAs, the whole gamut. And there was this up leveling of your thought process, your habits, your mindset, your vibration, your frequency, your consciousness. And then they were telling you to use lower class, in my mind, consciousness money systems that didn't equal where you were trying to get your thought process to. And that was an incongruency to me. And it wasn't until I learned the information we shared tonight around private banking and beyond that it finally was like, oh, okay, here's the system I felt like was missing. And here along those lines, I've been around a lot of, financial advisors and different things. And I don't want to rip on them, but there's just there's a disconnect between the hype and the marketing around what a lot of traditional financial vehicles and instruments are supposed to give you in the reality of what those things can give you. As far as mutual funds are supposed to get you 10% a year. The stock market averages 10% a year. But when you get into a lot of how that stuff actually works, there's a big disconnect. And one of my big issues around that space is uh, there's a lot of people that can make money from their clients, even if they lose their clients some money. I just have an ethical issue with that. So that was another conflict I saw. And then kind of flipping it to the other side, when you sit down with a financial advisor or fiduciary or someone, they can probably pick up bad habits. Oh, you go to Starbucks too much, or, oh, you shouldn't have bought that big screen or whatever. And it's having an adverse effect on how much money you're able to put away for retirement, blah, blah, blah. But what they can't do, and they're not trained to do, and this is something that we are, is being able to identify the patterns and being able to update subconscious patterns that are keeping you underperforming financially or around abundance. And when I say abundance, I mean health, happiness, success. Things are flowing in your life. It goes back to that harmony thing that I talked about in the title of this webinar, is you want that flow to be there. And if you can't get past what's going on up here, you're going to run into some roadblocks. So those are some issues that I saw that we're going to solve some of those tonight. Not as much go into the mindset aspect of it. It's going to be more of the financial strategies, but it's going to come into play at a few slides here. So this is one of my personal beliefs, my personal quotes that, as I've grown up and I grew up in the church, I understood a lot of the limiting beliefs that are in the church around money and wealth and abundance. And there's this idea that you should live poor and just kind of mediocre. And I just never resonated with most of those beliefs. And I've always thought, why shouldn't we all be in, the homes and driving the cars that we want? Not in a materialistic way, but I believe God is an abundant God, and I believe that we all live in abundance, and I believe that most of us keep ourselves from experiencing the fullness of that abundance because of what goes on up here, and we allow programming from outside of ourselves to dictate our choices, our decisions, what we look for, the solutions that we go find. And so this is just one of my personal quotes. I hope you guys can resonate with that to some level. And this is a big thing. It's in the title, talked about purpose. For me, your money goals need to be aligned with purpose. And it's not about the stuff, it's really about the person you become. Because see, as you have, at least this is for me, I can't speak for everybody else, but I know what I feel on the inside as far as where I need to go. There's not an ounce of me, there's not one cell of my body that is okay with mediocrity, that's okay with settling for less. I have to be advancing, I have to be going for more. And it's not about the house or the BMW, like I said in the last slide. It's nothing about that. It's when you're striving for those things, it's about how do you have to develop as a person, and what do you have to discard of yourself so that the true nature of who you are can come out in its fullest potential. That's what it's about. And see, when you want to increase your income, if you're afraid of talking to people, you don't know sales techniques, you don't know how to communicate, you don't know how to market, you have to gain new knowledge, new skills. You have to become a better version of yourself. And to me, that parallels a spiritual path. So for me, there's a great nature of wealth and spirituality that go hand in hand. There's a lot of teachers that, teach to that level as well. But that's just a good foundational principle I want to start with tonight on understanding where I'm coming from. And hopefully you resonate with this as well. So here's just something that another observation I've made. And I was at a seminar this weekend at a training, learning a lot, and they were talking about these very things, that your mental programming, your thoughts, your habits, your level of consciousness, your vibration, your frequency that you have going on up between your ears, that can attract wealth, it can attract prosperity, it can attract abundance, it can attract the experiences that you want. There is that ability to do. You are a creative being, and there's laws in the universe that bring things to you that you desire, that you want, that are just part of who you are, and they will attract to you. But the interesting thing is your mind can also repel those things. And so our mind is a very powerful thing. There's the thing in the medical world, placebo effect, and there's also the nocebo effect. You can create disease from your mind, and you can also heal disease from your mind. It's very powerful. And so I see a correlation, almost like a yin and a yang here, between the mental process and then also the financial systems or the wealth systems, that when you implement a very superior financial strategy, like we're going to be talking about tonight, something that the elite wealthy use. And the elite wealthy are those that have more and more wealth every single generation. They know what to do. They're not blowing their money. They're not losing their money. They're amassing wealth and making it sustainable and growing for every generation ongoing. So having a superior wealth system in place can raise your frequency or your vibration, your consciousness, the level that you think at, can boost your mindset, boost your mood, boost your attitude, can accelerate your goals. Because there's a lot of things that when you understand the power of these financial tools we're going to talk about tonight, things can happen a lot faster than you think they can. Your goals that you have written down, hopefully you've been listening to me, hopefully you have your goals written down and what you want to achieve. White paper, pen, blue ink to go all the way in. But when you write things down, when you have a new lens to look through of what's possible financially for you, you can say, holy crap, a goal that I thought was 10 years off, I might be able to do that in the next 10 months. Holy smokes. So these two principles kind of go back and forth. The mindset and what the money strategies, the financial strategies can do, they go hand in hand and they bounce off of each other. They synergize with each other. So I just want to give you some of these ideas. Now we're going to jump into just some of the financial thought processes and then jump into what we're talking about tonight. So if you ever wonder why the rich get richer, the news media might tell you because they lie, cheat, steal, they're evil people. That's why I heard in the church was that those people are always evil. They're always ripping somebody off. But if you ever wonder why the poor get poorer, there's always this separation of the people at the top stay at the top, the people in the middle stay in the middle, and the people at the bottom stay at the bottom. Why is that? Well, a lot of it has to go back to our mindset. But as far as why do the rich get richer, well, they just have information that the middle class, the poor class has just never been given access to. They don't have privy to the same information. We think we have all the information, but we don't. And here's the other aspect to it, that the elite wealthy and the people that sustain wealth for long periods of time generationally, not only do they have the information, but they've applied it. And we know they've applied it because they have the material, tangible results of that, whether it's represented by the stack of cash or by, the international businesses or different things that they have. We know that those principles are being applied because of the results they're there. So you have to understand, because the wealthy have kind of this different set of information that they run by, there is a different playing field in the financial world. Hi, Katie, glad you're on. And there's different rules financially that you just don't know that they exist. You don't know there's a different playing field. You don't know there's different rules. And there's a few things we're going to touch on here tonight. There's a difference, and they understand the power of contracts. We're going to talk about where that comes in and how that's powerful just briefly tonight. In longer presentations, we'll go into more of that so you understand more, but that's just something we can't go into big detail about tonight. But they understand how to put money to work. And that's just something that the poor middle class, they just don't know that. They understand the efficiency of their money. We're going to have a couple slides next and start going into that. And here's the big thing I want you guys to think about is the wealthy never use their money just one time. They can repurpose and reuse the same dollars over and over again, which is something that, it's like, how do you do that? That's impossible. You can either save money, spend money, and I don't know if there's a third option, Jeff. Well, we're going to show you a third way tonight and how that's possible. And it's what the wealthy do. It's what the big banks do. It's what corporations do. It's powerful. So let me grab a drink of water here. So we talked about the efficiency of money on the last slide. So here's 7 key areas of our life. We have our living and lifestyle. We've got debt reduction here. You got your savings. Some call that emergency fund. We like to call it an opportunity fund because it's not always a transmission that goes in your car. Sometimes it's a business venture you want to invest in or something to up-level your health. So there's opportunities that come up. You need asset protection for whatever you're growing in your life, and that needs to be protected. You've got legacy and generational transfer. You've got your investments and what you're doing to expand your money with wealth. You got your retirement. And conventional thinking, if you listen to Dave Ramsey's or any of the other gurus or just kind of middle-class mindset around money, all these think of these as separate buckets that your money has to go into. Every single one is a separate bucket, and it takes separate money to sustain these or to fulfill these over time. So, whatever is for your living and lifestyle, let's call that, hopefully 80% or so of your income is going towards that. Well, then for your savings, that might be 10%. And maybe you're putting another 10% if you have debt towards debt. And then, maybe once you build up your savings, then you can think about, well, let's start putting some money away for retirement or for our investments. And it's separate money, right? It's spreading you out. It's spreading out your financial resources thinner and thinner because you have to have separate money to fulfill the buckets. And the wealthy don't think that way. They think, how can I fulfill as many or all of these separate buckets with one move. How can I have the same dollars accomplishing all 7 of these buckets and fulfilling those things over a lifetime instead of spreading my money out? It's just more efficient to think that way. So I want you to think about this. So in the middle is private banking, which is a concept, and we're going to go into what that looks like. It's a product as well, in a sense of a financial instrument that we use that accomplishes this. But when you have this private banking program in place, it allows you to have your living and lifestyle. You can increase it, allows you to reduce debt, have savings that's liquid and gaining you interest. See, a lot of savings accounts are just pretty much non-existent on the interest side. So it's just dead money doing absolutely nothing for you except for peace of mind, which is good. But you could do better than that. Also retirement, investments, asset protection, and generational wealth transfer. We want all these things, or as many of them, to be able to be accomplished with the same dollars. So we're going to show you that in a minute. So I want you to give you a couple more mindset thoughts, though, on the difference between the wealthy and the middle class, because there's some significant differences. So the consumer, and I just call it the average American, or maybe even the average person in the world, they make money. They generally have a job. Some of them are entrepreneurs, they have small businesses. Whatever money they're generating, they either save it, or they more than likely they're going to spend most of it. And in America, a lot of people spend even more money than they're making. They go into debt and they're spending everything they can get financed for, plus what they're making. And so once you do that, though, once you spend all your money, that money is just gone. There's no other thing you can do with that. It's already in the hands of someone else. And that's, pretty much the only thing we've known. But the wealthy think differently than that. And we're going to call the wealthy, or in this case, this whole thought process, what it takes to be a capitalist. And I'm not talking about capitalist in the standpoint of, what we're told in the news media and stuff. This is just strictly how someone handles their money. So they don't necessarily just go to work. They might make a mental shift in their mind of, I'm going to work, but I'm going to gain capital. And what am I going to do with that capital, whatever money I generate from as a W-2 employee or 1099, self-employed, small business owner, that money is going to go to work for me. And that money can go to work for me to produce, long-term growth. It could also go to work for me to produce cash flow. There's two different ways. Most of the time when you hear people talk about investing, you're talking about investing for decades down the line. Now, there's ways to invest for cash flow. And we're going to show you some of those things tonight, that you can take the money you're making already in your cash flow that's going through your hands. And see, here's a quick definition. I didn't have a slide for this, but here's a quick definition of cash flow. And it's always fun when I'm doing like live seminars or one-on-one with people, and you say, what's the definition of cash flow? And I've had 100% of the time people say, well, Jeff, it's money comes in and then money leaves. It's gone forever. That's cash flow. Money in, money out. But see, the wealthy think of cash flow as a cyclical process. How many more times can I have the money go round and round with the same dollars? That's the idea. How much can I have the dollars working for me, spinning off more money? And that's what they do, is the capital that they put to work generates additional money for them. And that up levels your ability to have more freedom, harmony, increase your purpose, do those things like we're talking about tonight. And then ongoing, that money continues to grow and continues to work. But then also every day that you're going out doing your purpose in the world through your money-making pursuits, more and more of that money can get put to generating income. And that's where you hear about quote unquote passive income, or being financially independent. That means that you've got enough money working for you that your living and lifestyle are covered, and a lot of times beyond that. And that's where we want to aim. When we work with clients, this is the aim. Everybody has a different starting point. We had a different starting point, but we're building to this. We have over half of our personal income producing, half of our income is produced passively in the manner we're talking about. We're about 50% of the way, or a little bit more, of a capitalist right now, which is a fantastic feeling when you go to work and you know that your money's also working for you, while you work, while you sleep, while you have fun, while you're with your kids, while you're, like this weekend we were at a training and I knew my money was working for me the entire weekend. I was absorbing new information and making new connections. So it's a powerful, powerful shift. So I want you guys to start thinking along those lines and reframing your thoughts and your decisions around, how can I put more of my money to work for me so that I'm increasing more and more of my level of freedom, my level of flexibility, having more time, having more money. That's really where we want to start getting you guys going. So here's a really cool example. This is an example, a real life example from She's actually my mentor's daughter that now is our processor for our agency. Her name's Erin, and this is an example of her. And it'll really help you understand how money flows. So there's the bank here in the middle, and our this gal Erin, she worked for Wells Fargo. Hold on, this is jumping ahead for me somehow. Hang on. I was trying to do this timed out. Must be having a little issue with it. So hopefully it stays. So here's the idea. Erin worked for Wells Fargo for many years before she came on board with Private Banking Concepts, our agency. And when she worked at Wells Fargo, she got her paycheck every week from Wells Fargo. So every week she'd get her paycheck and the money would come from Wells Fargo and she would deposit her paycheck into her bank account at Wells Fargo. So if you notice the flow of money, the money would go from Wells Fargo to Erin and back into her Erin's account at Wells Fargo. So Wells Fargo basically had money leave and all the money came back, or most of it, for a period of time. So I want you to see the flow of money here as I go around this chart here. So, she probably had a credit card at some point to buy things and maybe, get some airline points or things like that. So she would get a credit card. Well, her, the money that would go for, it was a Wells Fargo credit card. So the money would go from Wells Fargo to pay for things. Then she'd make the monthly payment back to Wells Fargo. So you see again, Wells Fargo, money leaves Wells Fargo, money comes back to Wells Fargo. At some point, she would probably have a car payment. And so she would get a car loan. So Wells Fargo would give her a loan for the car. And every month she would make the payments back to Wells Fargo for the car. So again, notice the flow of the money away from the bank and back to the bank. Her and her husband got married, which is our mentor's son, and they bought a house. So they got a mortgage from Wells Fargo, the bank. So the money went to buy that. And then every month for 15 or 30 years, the payments are going back to Wells Fargo. When they had their first children, they needed to do some remodeling in the house and make things more family accessible. So they did the same thing. They had a remodel loan and the money went to and from Wells Fargo. And then, we had the 401k. She would open a 401k. The money would go from Wells Fargo to her. And then she would put the money back in. A lot of times automatically, she wouldn't even have control over this. It'd just be an automatic thing. Every week or every month, Wells Fargo would take their money, put it back into their account under the 401k at Wells Fargo. A lot of times that would boost their stock price because of doing that. So I want you to think about this flow of money and ask yourself, would you rather be in the position of Wells Fargo and the bank here in the middle? Or would you rather be the person on the outside, our gal Erin, where she's making all the payments back to Wells Fargo? Would you rather be the bank, or would you rather be the person out here making all the payments to the bank? And traditionally, we're all out here. We're all out here making the payments to the bank. Well, as we talk about the main principle tonight, private banking, we're showing you how to be in this position of the bank with your personal or business finances, how you can have the money going to you through deposits, and then whatever moves you're making in your life, credit cards, purchases, loans, cars, houses, retirement, how can you have the money going out to do those things, but then all the payments, principal and interest go back to you, your bank? And that's what we want to teach. Private banking is really about the concept or the philosophy of how do you change the flow of money in your life so it's going back to you and growing for you instead of away from you to other financial institutions that are profiting from the moves you're making in your life. Why not you profit from the moves you're making in your life by not having that cash flow leave your hands or your control? So hopefully that makes sense. In longer webinars, we touch more on that, but hopefully you get the general idea of just how the flow of money works and what can we do to put ourselves in the position of the bank in the middle. So before I answer that question, just real quick, this is something about, I mentioned a few slides ago about what the wealthy do and how they play in a different playing field, and they understand the power of contracts. So in the Constitution, it upholds contracts that no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contracts. So why that's important is because a private banking process or program is founded upon a contract between an insurance company and you. So we have this financial instrument that we call, or define here in a minute. And so we have that instrument that we are putting our money in. This is essentially what this instrument gives you the ability to function as a bank. So whatever money is in this instrument, you're getting guaranteed uninterrupted compounding growth. So it's a guaranteed growth. Right now, it's over 3% growth, tax-free. So it's really like, 5 or 6% growth, guaranteed, uninterrupted. And so you have this going on, and this money that you have in there can be collateralized, and you can get a line of credit against that. And when you do that line of credit or loan process, that's what essentially establishes your private bank, because you have money that's put up over here growing for you, but then that money gives you the ability to have a line of credit against that money. So you're essentially using the same money twice right there, if you can understand that. And absolutely, Ruben, I can do that. This will be up for a while. I can give you the link and you can share it. Be happy to do that. So you have these two things going on simultaneously, right? You have your money growing inside this financial instrument, but then you can also have access to more and more of that money over time. And we'll get into those, figures in a different webinar. But that's what allows you to set up the private bank. So you have those two things going on: access to the cash while it's growing. There's nothing else that allows you to do both. You have to pick. You either pick for the long term or you have access to it now. This allows you to do both. And that's what's powerful. That's efficiency of money, and that's never using your money only one time. This is using your money multiple ways. So when you have your private bank, this allows you to pay off debt. And when you use it in this process, this is by far the fastest way to pay off debt. We have financial freedom analysis software that we can plug all of your debts into if you have debts, and show you how many years and how many, probably thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of interest savings you can have. And a lot of times it's well over half to 3/4 faster running it through a private bank, any of your debts, than doing it the conventional way. Because you think about, if I'm paying off debts, that money I generate and it leaves me and it goes to Sallie Mae or Navient or wherever that money goes. In this case, that money is growing for you and you're able to pay off the debt. And then any of the payments that you'd be making to that, Sallie Mae or Navient is actually going back inside your private bank. And you can reuse those same dollars over again to pay off more debt. And again, that's a quick synopsis. That's a much larger picture, and takes a little bit longer to discuss that in more detail, but I'm just trying to give you a quick overview here. So that's one option, debt. You could also buy an asset or even an income producing asset. There's a lot of real estate investors that understand this is a superior way of doing real estate investing, and they can use their private bank for the down payment to purchase apartments or other real estate. And they basically have no money out of pocket, and their money is growing for them, and they've got the loan or the line of credit from their private bank to go put as down payment on something that's going to produce more cash flow. And then no matter what scenario, whether it's debt, asset, or income producing asset, the principal and interest payments all go back to your private bank, and then you can do the whole process over again. So what is this financial instrument that we're talking about? Well, the financial instrument and this system of money has actually been around longer than the stock market, been around longer than a lot of other things. Hi, Lisa, glad you're on. Been around more than mutual funds and all the different things that we've talked about. It's actually been around through all the world wars, including the Civil War, which is kind of crazy to think about it. It's been around that long, and that we've never really heard about it, but the wealthy have been using it for over 150 years. It's survived all the recessions, depressions, everything else, all the downturns in the economy, even what we're going through right now. So what is it? Well, it's an overfunded permanent whole life insurance policy. And I want you to think about, well, whatever I might suspect this is probably not, because over 90% of all whole life insurance policies are not designed the way that we're talking about tonight, that gives you the ability to do this. We're talking about a very advanced way of doing this. I personally know two insurance agents that have been in the business for over 20 years, and they never heard of this, and because there's only a handful of companies that write this way, and you have to be dealing with wealthy clients for them to ask for this stuff. These companies don't go around advertising this. You have to know about it through referral or through the right connections in order to have access to this type of different way of structuring a whole life insurance policy. So whatever you think you know about whole life insurance policies, whatever Dave Ramsey says about that, throw all that out the window, because he's so wrong. It's not even funny. I won't even go into that, but there's just a lot of differences in what the wealthy use than what we use. We might think we know, but we don't really truly know. So the reason we use this, though, is because there's a high cash value. Most whole life insurance policies have no cash value available to them for a lot of times the first 2 to 5 years, depending on the company and depending on like your age and health rating. Our policies have more cash value within 30 days available to them than a lot of policies will in the first 2 to 5 years, because we know how to do them in an advanced strategy of how to put them together. There's guaranteed returns that come from them. And we want as many things in our financial life to be locked in and secure. We want to have guaranteed returns. We want the bedrock of our finances to be guaranteed. We don't want to be playing the cross your fingers game. We don't want to play the lady this weekend at our training said the what was it? She said something about pray. Profit. I can't remember how she said it off the top of my head, but basically, you're holding your money and you're hoping, you're praying that it will produce income. And there's a lot of people that get to the retirement stage and their stock portfolio drops by 40%, and they have to go become a greeter at Walmart. And that's just not what we want. We don't want that to end up for any of our clients. We also want this to be dividend bearing. And so dividends are not guaranteed, but here's the amazing thing. The main company that we use has been around for 100, they're in their 147th year. They have paid out dividends every single year for 146 years. So it's the next best thing is dividends. And the reason they can't be guaranteed is because we don't know what the profits are going to be for the company for the year. But they are permanent. They'll never go away, unlike a term policy. They're protected. There's tax-free growth. A lot of benefits there when you look at that. And we'll go into that in other webinars about the taxation and how that's very, very important. And we only want to use the top of the top companies, which we do. So that's a little bit about private banking. I'm going to shift gears here a little bit, try to cram in a few other thoughts here in our remaining time to kind of give you a well-rounded picture of, the private banking is mainly a strategy for running your personal or business finances like a bank, and how you can be keeping more cash flow in your life and doing more things with the dollars that you're putting into the private banking process. So we're going to jump ahead and talk a little bit, just very briefly. I can't talk very much about this because it has to be done in an educational setting, not quite so public as a Facebook Live or an event like this. So if anybody wants to know more about this, please reach out to me. But when we talk about taxes, there's a lot of advanced things that the wealthy do that the middle class just isn't told to do. About the extent of, reducing taxes for the middle class is going to your CPA and, buying a new truck at the end of the year, or buying more courses or training at the end of the year to write off and have those deductions. And that's kind of about where it ends. Well, the wealthy do a lot of things. You might see celebrities or athletes that have like foundations and they have charities and all that in their own name, or a cause that's near and dear to them. And that's kind of, some of the things that are available to us that we just don't know about. So here's a really fun quote, though, about the tax system, that in America, there's actually two different systems for taxes, one for the uninformed and one for the informed. And both of them are legal. So most of us are running a 1040, and that's the way we do it. Well, the elite wealthy use a 1041, and it's a much simpler way, and there's a lot of more tax benefits that can come from that. So I would recommend, if you guys have taxes that exceed 5 figures, over $10,000 you're paying in taxes a year, you absolutely 100% need to talk to me. We have, through our agency, the right connections to set up some very advanced tax strategies that can help you lower some of those things beyond what you think is possible. So again, I can't talk about much about that because of the constitutional laws around that. The elite reserve things for the elites, so they don't want people running around running Facebook ads talking all about it. So that's all I can say there. But if you are paying more in taxes than you think, we should talk. So we talked about the private banking process and how you can be doing more things with the same dollars at the same time. You can be having growth, you can be having access to that cash. Because it is a life insurance product, you're getting a death benefit. So you're getting 3 benefits in one, essentially. You're getting growth, you're getting access to the cash, and you're getting a death benefit. So that's 3 times more efficient than anything else you're going to get out there. So let's talk a little bit about the next step beyond that. Let's say you've got some debt paid off. Let's say you're not only got your private banking process working for you, you want to put some money to work for you. Where can you put money to work so that it's growing for you? Even beyond what it's doing inside of your private banking program? Well, there's, like I said, the private banking process is the foundational place to start. It's the bedrock of building everything on, and the money that's growing inside your policy. You could do the private bank, you could do that loan, that line of credit, and actually put money into financial vehicles or investments or alternative investment type things that can grow your money much, much quicker. And so the wealthy are always looking for low risk, high yield types of programs that they can put their money into. And through Private Banking Concepts, our parent agency, there's something we have available to us that's called the 3% high yield bond program. And this is not an investment in any shape or form. If you know anything about bonds, bonds are actually debt. So the way this works is you have a lump sum of money that you would like to be getting a return on. You're actually making a loan to this company or this program. And in return for that loan to them that they have in a secure bank account, you're getting 3% per month on your return. So it's about 36% gross per year. It's a little bit less than that after you figure in transfer fees and some things like that. But that is available to us. We've had money in that for almost a year now. It's paying us out almost $2,000 per month on that. So it's been very, very nice to have that show up in our life. Put some money to work that we had from a sale of a home about a year ago. That was my grandfather's home that I wanted to be able to do something for the remaining assets that were left to me through the will, make that turn into something that was going to do more for me than the level of financial education that my family had had up until that point. And so this 3% high yield bond program has done that. There's some things above and beyond that on a one-on-one basis, I can talk about even beyond that, that's better, but this is the starting point. And then there's a second program that we've been running for about 6 months. It's been performing very well. It's a Forex, and Forex means foreign exchange. So that means maybe the Japanese yen, the Great Britain pounds, obviously the US dollar. There's about 6 currencies around the world that are traded. And as the value of those currencies fluctuate, ever so slightly every moment of every day throughout a work week, you can trade whether you think it's going to go up or down, and people can make big money on that. And the middle class knows all about the stock market, but most people have really never heard about the Forex market. And the Forex market is a 2.2 or 2.4 quadrillion market. That's how much volume of money is in that. That's where all the big players play. We think the big players play in the stock market. And yes, they do to a certain degree, but they're not playing the put money in there and wait 30 years and cross your fingers, it'll be a big return at the end. They're playing the highs and the lows. And they do the same thing with the Forex market, which is kind of the big players playground, quite honestly. Whereas the stock market's kind of more reserved for the middle class, and it's a different mindset around that. Like I mentioned, where it's the park it and hold and hope and pray versus playing the ups and the downs. And like with Forex, you're playing the ups and downs. And so all that volatility is profitable, whether it's up or down. So this hedge fund is similar to like a mutual fund would be, where a bunch of people are putting money in, and then there's growth in that. And there's all the data that I can show you. It's been getting 2 to 4% per week. There was 2 weeks. It was just a touch below 2%, but it's been 2 to 4% weekly. So that's about doubling your money in 6 months. If you kept compounding that on a weekly basis, that would actually be close to 5xing your money in 1 year. So it's very powerful. Or it can serve as cash flow. If you put money in there, 2 to 4% per week, you don't have to have a whole lot into that. It's going to spin off, several hundred or several $1,000s per week or per month that you could withdraw from that. So both the 3% high yield bond program and this Forex hedge fund, obviously those are taxable things. If you're concerned about that, another reason to talk to me about taxation strategies. But those are the couple main ways that we utilize personally. We vetted these. We don't really teach anything or subscribe any of our clients to get into anything other than what we vetted and used personally for a period of time to prove that it's been working the way it's supposed to. And we've done a ton of due diligence behind the scenes on this stuff to make sure it is what it is, because there's a lot of goofy stuff out there, and that it just happens. So those are some ways you want to put your money to work. And so when you put your money to work, obviously that adds to cash flow. It can add to long-term investment growth at a higher rate and faster rate than what you're going to get, the conventional middle-class mindset around what to do with your money long-term. And that just adds to the freedom, adds to your flexibility. It allows you to make a bigger impact in the world and spread your purpose further in the world, and just do a lot of great things when you're increasing, cash flow and putting money to work for you like this. So going to kind of wrap up here on a couple final thoughts. I talked a little bit about mindset and consciousness in the very beginning, and just going to wrap up on a little bit of this about, it's great to have the financial strategies, but you also have to be working on your mindset and some of the traumas around money, some of the stresses around money. Those stresses can actually get trapped, essentially etched in your hard drive, so to speak. And there's ways to release those, and ways to update the programming essentially to what your needs are now. A lot of times the mind can get stuck running a past program or past trauma or stress that's no longer needed in current time, that's interfering with what you're able to do right now. And I'm saying right here in this bullet point, a lot of times those stresses can get you paying attention to the voice of what the stress is saying or the trauma is saying, because, well, I got burned in the past, or that didn't work out before. Instead of getting the crystal clear communication from your intuition or God on, yes, this is the right move for you. Yes, you should do this, or no, you should not. You should look over here. So clearing that stuff out and be working on, increasing the way your mind functions in congruency with where you're trying to go is just so important. And you do have these, unconscious patterns running, and they keep you, underperforming, and can really push you away from money opportunities and things that are right there for you, answering your prayer of, I wish something would show up, and it is, but your unconscious patterns are not allowing you to see it for what it is. Maybe fears or different things are coming up, and it's overriding those things. And, I see this quite a bit. I've had a lot of years in the natural health field and looking at patterns that people have. And it's always interesting to me when someone goes through like a shock or a trauma or something, a lot of repetitive stresses, there's a lot of times a correlation between that type of experience that they went through and what types of things happen in their body. So it could be somebody gains weight, somebody develops pain, somebody develops a symptom pattern. There's all kinds of things that can be related back to a financial stress or trauma around money. And it could be outside of money, but I primarily talk around the money topic. And when we have big stresses that lock in our subconscious mind controls every system of our body. So if our body's supposed to be here at neutral and our body got revved up because of a stress, and that stress was so strong it actually locked into our subconscious, that means our body or systems of our body, like our adrenal system, we talk about adrenal fatigue. Somebody's always super tired, and maybe that fatigue started after they lost their job or something like that. A lot of times that's because the subconscious is keeping the body out of balance, maybe overproducing cortisol, which is leading to weight gain. There's so many different things that can happen. That there's a correlation between someone's health or their well-being, their happiness, and the financial stresses that go on. So this is just so imperative. Like I talked about early on in tonight, there's that yin and the yang. The financial strategies and the tools and the thought process around how you handle your money and what you do with your money go very much together with what you're thinking about with your money. And you have to do things with your mindset to make sure you're up leveling both of them, and they have an influence on each other. When you're up leveling your money in programs like we're talking about tonight, it can just automatically have a positive effect on your mindset. When you've got an extra, $1,000 coming in a month, or an extra $10,000 coming in a month, and your family's taken care of if something happens to you, and you've got money growing for you at a guaranteed rate, and you've got alternative investment type vehicles that are giving you much higher returns than you're going to get anywhere else. That just totally shifts your mindset. And that's a powerful thing. But then if we haven't cleaned up some of the gunk here, we can sabotage a good financial strategy or a strong financial strategy, and self-sabotage it and not follow the recipe that is laid out when we meet with clients on what to do with their money. So just very, very important to understand how they both go together. So I'm going to wrap up here. So if these types of things really resonate with you and you want to know more, we'll talk about how to connect after this. But as we talk about with any type of client, we actually deal with quite a few clients that are nearing the retirement stage or in the retirement stage. And these programs work very, very well for that, to be in a tax-free environment. This is something that we feel more and more as being able to win with every financial move. A lot of times in life, when we're dealing with banks or dealing with financial institutions, you kind of feel like you're at the mercy of them. You're hoping that the stock market performs. You're hoping you can get that loan. You're hoping the financing will go through for the car, for the home. You're just kind of at the mercy of them instead of being in a control power position. where you feel like you're winning with every financial move. And that's some of the shifts that you can experience when you're starting to work with us on our programs. And there's this idea, we don't go into it in this presentation, but some of our longer programs or webinars, seminars, we'll talk about, not needing to sacrifice between whether I put money away now and sacrifice some things now for 30, 40 years from now in retirement, or the other way around. I blow in a bunch of money now and living it up now, but then I get to retirement and I got nothing left. We don't have to do both. See, we can use money more than once. We can have the growth and we can put it to work and upgrade our living and lifestyle, our business, expand our purpose and those things now. So you can actually do both, which is powerful. And, we didn't talk a whole lot about generational strategies tonight, but, one of the big powerful things about a private banking program is the money that's in a private banking program. Let's say you have $1 million in a private banking program over your lifetime. It's grown to $1 million. When you pass away, because it's insurance-based, life insurance-based, your death benefit is far above what your cash value is. You may have $2, $3, $4, $5 million worth of death benefit. So you've amassed $1 million in your lifetime. When you pass away, it's a multiplied benefit that goes to your heirs, your beneficiaries, your children, grandchildren. That's powerful because in all other types of investment vehicles, or even if you have trusts and wills and you're trying to bypass probate and estate issues, there's still taxes that come in play with all those things. So typically you're talking about anywhere from like probably a 30 to a 70% reduction in the amount of assets that get transferred to the next generation. And so remember I said the wealthy think differently about all this stuff. So this is one of the key differences. The Dave Ramseys don't understand that it's a multiplied death benefit of transfer to the next generation. So that's one of the things that, we can go into more detail with you on, but that's just huge. It's absolutely huge. If I have $1 million in my 401k, it's $500,000 that goes to my heirs. Or if I have $1 million in my life insurance policy, it could be 3, 4, 5 million that goes to my heirs. What would you rather have? That's just a game changer. That's totally unbelievable. So, and again, when you're using the private banking process, you're able to recapture lost principal and interest on purchases and loans and the normal places your cash flow is going. And then again, I mentioned accelerated debt reduction as well. It's by far the fastest way to pay off debt by routing it through a private banking program. And what that does is basically takes your debt, which is a liability, and turns it into an asset. Because when you're recapturing the money that would normally be going to Sallie Mae or Navient, and it's coming back to inside your private bank that you can be used again, that makes it an asset. That means that the money that you're putting out for that is actually growing your net worth, not subtracting from it. So it's super powerful. So again, if you wanted to work with us, when we sit down with you, do either in person or over a Zoom call, which we do a lot of times, especially the last couple of years, we've been doing a lot of Zoom calls. We really want to know what's your current situation financially, what are your goals financially, and then we create some strategies that you can pick from. So if you do have debt, you'd want to know what's the fastest way to pay that off. We can go through all that with you, show you some software that gives you a very clear roadmap and step-by-step on what to do. The very precise steps on how to reach your money goals would be a combination of the private banking program as that foundation, then putting money to work for you in various forms like we talked about, so you can reach your goals much faster than you think. One of the clients of the private banking agencies, not one of our direct clients, but of the agency above us, he's a chiropractor. He was here in Michigan where we're at. He had saved up a large amount of money. He was planning to retire in 5 years. When he found out about the 3% high yield bond program, he was literally retired in 5 weeks because of the difference in what the returns are on that. It's just complete like galaxy changer. I can't even say game changer. It's like a galaxy changer. It's unbelievable. So, again, that's what we can help you do, is just be able to recapture money and leverage it for your future. So with that, and then multiply your money programs that do that. So touched on that. So just to wrap up here, this is a picture of my dear father-in-law. He passed away almost 3 years ago now. Time flies. And, I bring this up just because you just don't know what life's going to bring. And, these are our 2 kids, Jenna and Alex, here with him. And, we all miss him. We all think about him all the time. We know he's with us all the time. There's a lot of cool things that happen that we know. He's inspired. He had a great awakening just before he passed away. Started seeing a more abundant vision for himself and for his family. And, my wife and I think it was on our anniversary, the night of our anniversary, we went into the hospice home where he was at and actually had a discussion with him about, he knew he was going to be passing away soon. And he had this big vision of carrying on a legacy of wealth and abundance for people. And we made a promise to them that we'd continue that on, and then we're doing that, in a way that we really didn't know at the time. We're doing that through the private banking program in our company, Better Abundance, being able to help people reach higher levels of abundance and not wait till their last days to have that breakthrough in abundance and be able to experience it. We want you to be able to experience it here and now. So if all that resonates with you, schedule a one-on-one strategy session with us. I'll put a link with this live once I'm done here in a minute. And that way you can schedule something with us. If you want to rewatch this again, there's obviously a fire hose of information. I'm talking kind of fast, trying to cram in as much. I'm sure I went over my 30-minute mark. I always do. It's very hard to do when I'm passionate about this stuff. I just sat through like 16 hours this weekend of it. So I think you guys can manage 45 or an hour if I'm there. It'll benefit you, and it's worth every minute. So if you don't want to watch 20 minutes of this, then it's not for you, obviously. I hope this is, I've still got 8 of you on, so you're obviously engaged. So I appreciate that. Hopefully you're learning a lot. And then again, to sit down and schedule one with us is the link I'll provide. But I would go back and rewatch this, maybe take notes, maybe slow it down a little bit. If you can control the speed, go down to 0.75 and absorb a little bit more. But then I'm always available for just Q&A. Message me. Be happy to give you more info. I can give you longer presentations, and we are going to be doing more webinars on expansions of some of these individual topics and some other topics. I've had a lot of interest in just the mindset and what money stress does on our health. So we're going to go into some of that. And we do work with, if by listening to this tonight, you've had some things key in around money, around wealth, around prosperity, around up-leveling your life, around your goals not accomplishing, you've felt triggered, you've felt negative emotions around some of this stuff, message me about that, because we have some great subconscious tools that we can use for that and help you make some shifts, sometimes in minutes, sometimes hours, sometimes days, but very, very powerful tools. We've used a lot of these ourselves to get to higher levels of prosperity, and many of them, in fact, a year ago, we were kind of debating on what we're going to do with the housing situation, and we started using some of these kind of an advanced form of some of these tools that we had just learned, and within a matter of a couple of weeks, we had decided to put our house up for sale, found a new home that was like 3 times the size, met a lot of the goals we were looking for at the time, and what the house would be and what it would do for us, the feelings we would experience by being in it. So shifts can happen very fast when you update the subconscious mind to be in alignment with what you want. So we offer those things as well, not just the private banking and not just the financial systems and structures and strategies, but also if you feel like there's some emotional things or energetic things that are off, you want help with that, reach out to us for that as well. You can just schedule a session with us for that as well, or even a package deal for that as well. So thanks for joining us, guys. Any questions as I wrap up? I still see 7 of you on. So any questions that you guys might have, put it in the chat. I got my phone next to me here. I'll hang on for a second. If you guys do have any clarifying questions or anything, pop them into the chat. Be happy to answer those here. But yeah, it's been a great 4 years for us as we've learned this information, implemented a lot of it, and helped many clients so far do this. And I hope the same thing for you guys, that if this does resonate with you, you'll take action on it. It was one thing that when I heard this information, I did take action on it right away, and it wasn't something I put off. So if this does resonate with you guys, I encourage you to take a step forward. Still do your due diligence. Don't rush, don't do anything, screwy, but still take massive immediate action if this feels like the right thing for you. So I'm not seeing any questions pop in, so I'll let you guys hop off here and put the replay link. Sounds good, Lisa? Great. Be great to talk to you soon. And so yeah, I'll put the link with this and I'll hop off here. You guys have great rest of your night, great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you all real soon. Take care, guys.